have recognized the importance of small business in the stability of an economy and developing economic growth. They are the catalysts of innovation. While economists and policymakers always argue for an increase in small business to help increase economic activity, it is not clear how small businesses actually develop. How do businesses move from an idea in an entrepreneur's imagination to multi-billion dollars of businesses is not clear. The reality is most businesses, 3 out of 5 actually, will not survive past their second anniversary of establishment. We have seen an increase in entrepreneurship support, the development of incubators, for instance, financing opportunities, accelerators, angel investors, all help facilitate the growth of business. However, they do not help with the development of business. Most of the resources that have been established assume a business already exists. That part, assume that business already exists. We need more efforts to help the ideas to develop the business plan. That is the missing part. This is where today's conversation lays, in the area of how to frame your business, how to develop a model. Additionally, in today's world, the economy is shifting and old ways of doing things are changing. So it's important for us, for the new and the old, to rethink what we are doing. This is an important conversation that needs to take place. How do you develop a framework to think of your business in today's world? Ms. Jeni Houser, I look forward to the presentation and learning more from your expertise in entrepreneurship and the entrepreneurship landscape. Thank you so much.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Okay. Thank you all for your attention and time today. Your Excellency, thank you so much for the invitation to present here. It's truly an honor to be here with you all. I am excited to be here in Oman and to have this opportunity to share this information with you. Thank you so much to the both of you for that introduction. A little more about me. My name is Jeni Houser, and I'm one of the founders and consultants at the EI District. We're a boutique entrepreneurship and economic insight consulting agency. As a boutique agency, we don't like to engage in transactional services. Rather, we believe in more meaningful work in building relationships to become partners with you and as an extension to you and our clients. I've spent the last year to travel the world to learn about entrepreneurship, and I'm so excited because I have earned my master's degree in entrepreneurship at Trinity College Dublin. There, I focus on a global perspective of entrepreneurship ecosystems, the entrepreneurship process, and education and outreach. I am an entrepreneur to the core. I've owned my own businesses. I've bought and sold businesses. However, my passion is working with small businesses and entrepreneurship outreach. I truly believe that the catalyst to economic growth starts with small businesses, and that's why we started the EI District. So rather than focus on the unicorn building, my focus and passion is to empower people to create their own lane of opportunity through entrepreneurship, but more importantly, embracing that entrepreneurial mindset. So today we're going to talk about something that I love doing at the EI District, and we do this with entities that need to redefine or maybe figure out who they really are. There's a lot of emphasis nowadays on developing a business plan, but before you write a business plan, you need to know what your business model is. Many organizations cannot define their business model. And when I talk about organizations, I'm not just talking about businesses. I'm also talking about individuals, entrepreneurs, government, policymakers, teams, and even startups. I'm a big believer that if more people focus on their business model, they would be able to perform better. Whether you're a celebrity brand, a construction company, a university, a faculty member, or a director, you need to define your business model canvas. When you use this resource, you will be able to perform at a higher level. We began offering this because business owners found that they're working in their business and consumed with the day-to-day issues of running a business. They found they needed more time to spend on strategy and business model innovation. The business model canvas is a powerful tool that systematically works through the 9 building blocks of a business, and it structures that business model in a coherent manner. The business model canvas allows you to better articulate all the different segments of your business model coherently, making your business idea clear to yourself, your team, and future investors. The EI District can curate a 1-day, 3-day, or even 5-day business model canvas workshop. We can work with your organization, and it's all dependent on how deep you want to dive into your business. Today, I'm giving you the 30-minute sprint version of it. So what I'll do is share the business model canvas with you. I'll work through the process, give some examples, and then after about 30 minutes or so of me talking, we'll move to the part that will be the most value added to discuss the business model canvas after. I want to hear from you about your businesses or business ideas and how the business model canvas can relate to you. So here it is, the business model canvas. It has 3 components: the creation, the delivery, and the capture. So when we talk about this, again, think about your own organization or business idea, and then you can let me know how it's relevant to the business model canvas. First, we'll start with creation. And as a business, you have to think about creation. And it starts with asking, who is your customer? You would be surprised how many businesses and entrepreneurs that do not actually know who their customer is, or thinks it's an entirely different segment than what they thought about. Most people cannot define their customer segment because defining your customer segment is actually a very complicated process, especially if you've never owned a business. For example, if you're a startup, you don't really know who is going to utilize your service or buy your product. Some of the most established businesses even add or delete multiple customer segments. One business that comes to mind with multiple customer segments and needed to make a change is my local grocery store in the States, Kroger. Kroger maintains markets in 35 states and as a nationwide supermarket is ranked on the Fortune 500, and they're headquartered in my hometown of Cincinnati. Kroger uses data analysis to define their customer segment, and they do it so well. They've been able to segment their stores on a neighborhood level, and no 2 Krogers look the same. And even Kroger, they made a customer segment change. From their data research, Kroger realized that in some of the stores, their clients were buying these ready-made quick pickup meals. So they realized a need for those customers to have space to consume those meals. So they had the space and they added in-store dining. So define who your customer segment is, but be careful to not get too attached because you could add or delete customer segments as you move along the business model canvas or scale your business. And once we go through the 8 remaining blocks of the business model canvas, you may even choose to say, yes, I do want to stick with this segment, or I need to change because I think the profits are higher somewhere else. Once you define your customer segment, then you have to ask yourself, what are you providing for your customers? This may sound backwards, yes, but many people already have the product and service, but then try to figure out who they're going to sell it to. Value propositions always exist in relation to the customer segment. At the EI, we focus on the customer and their needs, and then we figure out how we can help them. And if what you're providing does not meet their needs, then there's a mismatch. You need a value proposition for the customer segment you're interested in. And remember, you could have multiple customer segments. To create your value proposition, you really need to know your customers. You need to know what their pains are and what they can gain from interacting with you. And just because you provide a service does not mean you know your true customer pains. Deep diving into this requires a lot of data analysis, market analysis, and researching trends. To truly perform well, you need to know what your value proposition is. And in short, the value proposition answers one question: what compels our customers to buy from us? So now you know what your value proposition is. It's important to ask, how are we going to deliver this product to the customer segments? When you define your channels, it's important to ask some questions, like what is your relationship with your customer segment? How do you communicate with them? And how do they interact with your product or service? So your customer relationship is a strategy where you want them continuously interacting with you. So you have to know where they come from before they arrive to you and where they go after. Okay, let's talk about this guy, George Clooney. Nespresso defined their customer segment as the George Clooney of coffee. If you know George Clooney, you know he's sophisticated, he's charismatic, and elegant. And that's what Nespresso wanted people to think about when they thought about their value proposition. It's the customer persona they wanted you to resonate with. And now that they had their customer persona, they decided to sell coffee, but not just any coffee, the best coffee at your convenience. Because you could go out and find really good coffee, but they're looking for customers that need convenience, need elegance, and need sophistication. So the channels they use are ordering through the mail, the website, and the retailers. Nespresso uses these channels to create a personalized experience with the customer. When you go to the retailer, you get your own machine, you pick out your own color, and then you purchase the capsules, and the look and the feel and all meet the expectations of the value proposition. Once you leave, you receive email notifications, and as part of the loyalty program, you get promotions and information on flavors, but everything is elegant and exquisite. Nespresso reinforces this by using the communication method to keep the relationship with their customers. And before you know it, you're put into this loyalty loop and you're never going to leave Nespresso. Based on my experience working with my clients, they find that the customer relationship is a challenge. Businesses focus on more what happens when the customer arrives to them, but not enough focus on how they get there and what happens after they purchase from them. This applies to product markets and, more importantly, service markets. When business owners understand the customer decision journey, they can direct spending and messaging to the touch points of maximum influence. And what this means is you'll stand a greater chance of reaching your customers at the right place, the right time, with the right message. So instead of focusing on how to allocate spending across channels, all the channels, a better strategy is to target stages in the customer decision journey, ultimately gaining customer loyalty. So let's look at an example. When customers have decided to make a purchase, they start the journey with the brand awareness. They're thinking and considering an initial set of brands. Eventually, the customer will select a brand, and in this example, it's Nespresso. But what happens after this is important, and Nespresso does this really well. The customer is still evaluating you. It's important to have a post-purchase experience to create customer loyalty. This is where Nespresso uses ads, social media, loyalty programs, and emails. And the most important part of the user journey is when the customer transitions into the loyalty loop. Businesses can create this loyalty with the ultimate goal of the customer repurchasing from you without considering the other brands. Okay, now we got done with the first side of the business model canvas. You can see that Nespresso has customers who want elegance and sophistication and convenience. The value proposition is creating the best coffee, the best machines, the best experience for those customers. They're delivering that value through mixed channels, and the kind of relationships they have with their customers is very personalized and special. So the next component is, how are you actually delivering that creation side? To do this, we need to define our key partners, key activities, and key resources. Key partnerships is the network of partners and suppliers that leverage your business model to make it work. Nespresso realized they needed partners to control the quality of coffee, so they built partnerships with coffee growers. They didn't just go to the market to buy coffee, they went directly to the farmers because they wanted to maintain the quality. And they knew that delivering their value proposition to their customers is too important, and they need to know the coffee is premium. Nespresso also needed relationships with manufacturers to build the machines. If you've ever touched an espresso machine, you know it's a solid piece of equipment. They could easily do this at a cheaper price point, but they know they could lose their value proposition. They could use other metal, other plastic, and accessories, but it wouldn't be the same machine. You know when you hear the sound of an espresso machine, it's an espresso machine. The sound, the look, the feel, the smell, the taste, it's all embedded in their value proposition. For example, if you didn't hear that machine working, making the high quality coffee, you wouldn't be convinced you're getting the high quality coffee. So for Nespresso, coffee farmers and manufacturers are essential parts of their key partnerships and delivering that value proposition. Another example of partnerships is Nike and Apple partnering to deliver the Apple Watch with built-in Nike activity functions. Another partnership is Mercedes and AMG, two products and brands partnering with one another to deliver a value proposition. Now we'll shift and identify what key resources are. What are the most important things you need to have or acquire in order to make your business model work? Here we would put things like patents, office space, your capital, infrastructure, the things your business needs to make the business model go. One thing that comes in mind is Nespresso. Patents were really important because Nespresso wanted to protect the look of the machine and the capsules. They knew it could lose its value proposition if they didn't. So Nespresso knew they needed to spend money on protecting the intellectual property, which is the design of the capsules, the machinery, and they needed to protect the brand. So make sure you're protecting your value proposition with your key resources. Oops. Another example would be McDonald's physical resources. McDonald's has an enormous global network of stores, storage buildings, IT infrastructure, and logistics. Key activities are going to be the things that keep the wheels rolling on your business. Key activities keep the business going to make sure that you're delivering the value proposition and maintaining and hopefully growing your customer segment. These are the most important things you need to be able to perform in order for your business model to work. So do you need marketing campaigns? Do you need to build a website? Do you need to have sponsorships or distribution? The key activities are strategic actions your team must undertake to achieve your value proposition. So how are you keeping your business going in today's world? This is probably a time where a lot of businesses are redefining their key activities. They know their customer segment, they know their value proposition, but how they're actually delivering it is changing. And one way we're seeing this right now is in higher education. The pandemic disrupted the industry and made key activity in higher education change, and now we've seen the shift to online courses. Another example of key activities is how restaurants in this time needed to change from dine-in activities to delivery and carry-out orders. Even McDonald's had to change their key activities in offering delivery and takeaway. So we just finished the second side of the business model canvas. Nespresso, you saw, has several key partners with coffee farmers and manufacturers, key resources that include their brand, patents, quality coffee, and key activities that deliver the right side of that canvas with distribution, marketing, and promotion and branding. Okay, once you figure all this out, you can finally make it to the third step, capture. And a lot of people start with this third step when they need to be ending at this third step. The third step is how to capture the value. But you cannot capture something that has no value. So you define the value, define the creation and the delivery, and now it's time to think about how to monetize it. But first, we have to think about costs. A lot of people neglect the cost structure. They get so excited and they start producing the easiest way to get into business. However, they don't invest enough time in identifying the costs that are necessary for the key activities, key resources, and key partners. So by defining your cost structure, vetting that process, you're working towards profit maximization. And we know from profit maximization, it means maximizing your revenue and minimizing your costs. In my experience, a lot of business owners focus on maximizing revenue, but don't focus on minimizing or even acknowledging their costs. Maximizing revenue is a common misconception, especially with startups. Even investors, you will hear them push this concept and it's not sustainable. This is one reason why we see firms fizzle quickly. And from my experience, it's because everyone is pushing for the unicorn. Okay, so the costs are an outcome of your key partners, key resources, and key activities. The business model canvas uses a broad range of cost-driven models and value-driven models. If you know your customer segment, then you can decide if you'll be value-driven or low cost. I mentioned that I spent the last year in Dublin. If you make it there or if you're interested in airlines, you will always hear about Ryanair, the model airline for discount airline travel. They realize that their customer segment does not care about the frills and thrills. They want to get to the next place as cheaply as possible. Ryanair said, we're going to do a low-cost airline model and be the best low-cost airline model. That required them first to identify their customer segment. Their customer segment does not want first class, therefore Ryanair does not want first class travelers or a first class cabin. They want customers that want to get from A to B the cheapest way possible, but not necessarily the quickest way possible. I don't know how much you know about Ryanair, and I had to learn this the hard way. They usually don't fly to main airports, and they realize their customer segment does not care about that. Knowing all this impacts their cost structure. On the other side of low cost structure is the high end. When I buy Nespresso, they're sold by the 10 capsules in a sleeve at €3, and I'm a 3-cup-a-day person, sometimes more. I know I could get that at a fraction, but Nespresso knows their customer segment. And once that capsule is too cheap, they could lose their elegance and value proposition. Now we'll do what everyone loves to think about, and it's how much money are we going to make? Rayham, can you let me know if you can hear?
Yes, we can hear you, Jenny. You can carry on.
Okay, thank you. Now we get to do what everyone loves to do and think about how much money we're going to make. If I'm providing this amazing value proposition, how can I capture some of that value? I'm providing a service. I need to be rewarded for that service. And what's the best way to set up my value capture in a specific revenue stream? So yes, now we will take a look at some examples. Nespresso uses a repetitive stream to sell their capsules and a transactional one-time sale to sell their machines. Another revenue stream that's working now, especially well for us today, is Zoom. It's a freemium stream. You have access to a free service, and then you have the option to upgrade to a paid service. Netflix and Android, they're taking advantage of the freemium revenue stream and built a key partnership. So if you have an Android, you're able to watch 10 movies for free, and they did this to attract new members and customers to give them that Netflix experience for free. My other favorite brand, Mercedes, they use a one-time transactional sale as well. So once you buy the car from them, you own the car and the dealer no longer owns it. And then one more thing about Nespresso here. They'll give you a free machine because they know their main revenue stream are in the capsules. Remember that the key resources protect the IP of the capsules, so that's what they're invested in. With a subscription revenue stream, the marginal cost of production is low, so adding one more customer is low. However, this model needs as many customers as possible and for as long as possible. And with subscription streams so popular now, I see a lot of businesses switch to this stream, but it's not necessarily the best for every business. And then one more thing to keep in mind once we get here is the business model could change from your initial thoughts. For example, that means you might have to go back and redefine your customers because this customer may no longer be the user, but it gets you thinking about different customer segments, and the whole process is a beautiful iteration. Right now, with markets and recessions, you want to get customers in to utilize your product or service. Then you can upsell them on additional things. A good example, again, is how Zoom took advantage of the recession. Other industries I see using this revenue stream is higher education. They're increasing the amount of outreach programs to raise awareness of their other products. Canvas realized the increase in online education and now offers a platform for free to capture this shift to online education. And then as education and knowledge-based startups grow, they hope to gain revenue sharing with them. A couple more examples that brought this all together this week is Miami University, which is located in my hometown in the States. Right now, they're offering a free series of online business modules that earn a certification called the Mini MBA. It's an online program for those who want to strengthen their skill sets for the workforce. And there's no way I could get out of here without providing an example from my school, Trinity College Dublin. The business school developed key dynamic partnerships with academics, business leaders, industry experts, and public partners to deliver a free online workshop. It's being offered to only local Irish businesses to help develop innovative solutions to reimagine their business model in this new world. During downturns, people are reluctant to spend, and you have to think about how you're going to send a signal of quality. So the freemium model could be a good revenue stream to use in today's times. This, in a nutshell, is the completed business model canvas, and not sure if you knew it, but we walked through the whole story of Nespresso's business model together. But before I leave, I want to tell you we talked about this from a business entrepreneurial standpoint. But if you have any organization, which is anything where a group of people are working together, we could sit down and get the organization thinking about the business and work through a business model canvas. Because here, it's really about what you're creating, what you're delivering, and what you're capturing. And every organization is creating something, delivering something, and capturing something. The business model canvas is applicable to so many things in our lives. And we at the EI District, it's one of my favorite things to do. We love to do this work with our clients, and it's one of the things we provide. But I want to reiterate again that a lot of people focus on business plans first, and my view is before you write a business plan, you need to think about the business model canvas. It will make writing of the business plan much easier and more fluid. It's been so exciting and great sharing this information with you. I'm excited about hearing from you about your organizations and how it can apply the business model canvas. The world economy is changing, and any business or organization can benefit from completing a business model canvas. If you have an organization, it can be as simple as a team building exercise. But it is important because a lot of industries are being disrupted, and it's a good time to take stock on what you're doing. Remember what I said, that many business owners work in their business, and my goal is to get you to work on your business. If you're interested, please don't hesitate to reach out. Again, thank you for your time. It has been fun to be here with you today. Reham, thank you so much for organizing this. Your Excellency, thank you for the invitation. The last thing is, if you're interested in learning more, just please visit our website and sign up for the newsletter. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jenny, for this great presentation. And I think it was very informative. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Abdullah?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So I have the opportunity to recap and summarize the presentation. So I will try to do my best. So the way I understand what you've presented today is we need to really think about our business model before we develop our business plan. And a business model is understanding your customers. What are you creating? What is the value proposition you are providing them? And then understanding the key resources of the delivery aspect. What is it that you need to do to actually exist? What is the work you're doing? And then finally, it's to figure out what your cost and your revenue are. It has been my experience, like you mentioned in your discussion, that a lot of people start with how much money am I going to make rather than figuring out the other aspects first. So, and like you said, investors focus on that a lot more, and that might explain why our, the search for unicorns and unsustainable business development. So that's the recap that I have. It's really insightful work that you've presented, value added, especially as we start to think about how to develop thriving entrepreneurial ecosystem here in Oman and internationally. This applies to international markets as well. And it's to develop a strong foundation to think about how your business is created. So Jenny, I just wanted to thank you for that, for a great discussion. And I want to take the opportunity to open up the questions, discussion, and hear back from the community about their thoughts.
Thank you very much. I think we have Mr. Mike Hansen to start with the Q&A session.
Thank you, Reham. Thank you, Your Excellency. Jenny, that was great, and thank you, Dr. Abdullah. I think this is a hard one because you've given us a tool, and we're in Oman on a journey that has plenty of opportunity. And frankly, I'm struggling to know how to put across a question, because in Oman, I'm familiar with enterprises that could be in the delivery space, particularly with the infrastructure and logistics and talent that we have here. But I think the really hard aspect, and I wonder if I could hand this over to you from your time in Oman, is on the creation space. From the real assets, the talent, the people we have here, the region that we're part of, what might you, how would you comment in the creative area, please?
Thank you, Mike. First of all, I love your quick recap of everything there. And I think you do have a good understanding of what I presented. I want to make sure I understand what you're asking. Is you have a firmer grip on the delivery side. You can kind of picture who could participate over there. It's the creation side, the customer segments, the channels, relationships, the first part that I went over.
I am, because, sorry, just to come back in, because Oman has invested an awful lot of effort recently with a program called 10 Feed. And this was a lot of people coming together to see the direction that leads towards, it's not the only input, but towards the Vision 2040. Mm-hmm. So we have quite a lot of ideas already. Mm-hmm. But I'd just like you to expand on the creative side with 2040, 10 Feed, and what the real assets and people we have here, please.
For sure. I'm not familiar with 10 Feet, so maybe you and I can talk about that in another discussion. But the creation side, I see a lot of opportunity here in Oman as well with entrepreneurship. The creation side is a lot of the ideation that Dr. Abdullah talked about in his introduction. So it's about sitting down when someone has a business idea and then taking them from idea and bridging the gap to what is your business model? Does that make more sense?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I can't expand further, because I think many of us who are in this forum are actually involved in this creation space at the moment. Mm-hmm. We've had a pretty disruptive year, as have people all around the world. Mm-hmm. And first of all, we're trying to grow our businesses, do our businesses better, but we've been disrupted because of COVID. Mm-hmm. I think most of us have come to grips with coexisting with COVID now. So it's not the main issue. That's just another aspect of business. What we're trying to do is be creative, and a tool like this is something that I'm certainly going to think about with my own colleagues. But we have such a lot of assets here, and we're seeing already mm-hmm. from government some pretty serious moves that are trying to make Oman an easier place to do business, a more attractive place to do business, but also in partnership with our regulatory bodies. Mm-hmm. So I need help from others to come in and ask questions.
I will, if you don't mind, Mike, I will chime in here just based on my experience locally and internationally as well. The ideation phase, so identifying your value proposition, is the aspect of business development that is underinvested in by the business owner and by the ecosystem around it. And the reason being is, from my perspective, is it's the hardest part to monetize. So all the ecosystem, all these incubators, all these resources, you're providing a service, and you're providing a service to somebody that does not have equity or capital yet. So that is always the missing part. And you know, I've seen it across the world. You have incubators, but nobody starts with the idea. What is your value proposition? What are you adding? And that's why we see a lot of replication businesses here, specifically in Oman. If a restaurant's successful, 100 more restaurants will open, because the value proposition is not really fully developed. right? The creation, like you said, and the delivery and the cost and revenue is invested in, but how are we going to innovate? And as an economist, that's the aspect that I'm looking for, is how do we spur innovation, differentiation of products, right? And it requires investment in ways that cannot be recouped by individuals. Could we open up to other questions, comments, suggestions?
We have Mr. Simon Karam. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Riham. Thank you. Actually, I would like to take on from where Mike started and give you a little bit of feedback, more feedback on where we are at this stage. I would have recommended for Oman, maybe not elsewhere, not the United States, a step that is before creation. You see, the whole study that is presented is excellent, it's brilliant, but it assumes the business is ongoing and we have means to improve it. We have tools, as Mike said, we have, and you are the advisor on these tools, full of experience and how to redefine the business model in changing times. What we are lacking at the moment ourselves more is the pre-creation. How to get people to be an entrepreneur. You see, when I decided to become an entrepreneur, I decided when I was born, because in our family we are all, and I think there is something that comes with where you were born. Mm-hmm. I started in Oman in 1973 without $1 in my pocket. Yeah, I had a riyal, not dollar. And without incubator, no incubation, no advice, nothing. And yet, I decided to be an entrepreneur. What is it that drives, somebody to become entrepreneur? And this is our young people. And the gap that we have is the beginning of good businesses, in other terms, owned by Omanis. You see, we have 311,000 companies that are registered in Oman, and very, very, very few have been started by Omanis. We have 50,000 at the moment, small enterprises trying. Okay, so if I go back a little bit and see what is it that is not there making or assisting the young Omanis to do that jump? I think we got it wrong, to be honest with you. A young man is scared. He waits for lots of support from the government. He wants to make profit the first year. He's afraid of failing. All these are accessories. I think myself, and I asked myself many times, I wrote an article actually recently about this. And what is it that you need in Oman to start? Is it money? Not necessarily. Is it support from government? No. Well, no. The answer is no, I don't want. Is it that I get an expatriate who comes and start a business for me and I make money? Yes, you make money, but you're not building a business. Because once this expatriate goes, we lose the business. I'm sorry, I'm taking a little bit your presentation a little bit backwards, but just to make you understand how we see our local problem. What I think, and God made it very well, He gave us tools to succeed. Whether education is an essential thing, no, many businessmen have succeeded without it. I think the love of hard work is a great tool. You can beat more intelligent people. You can beat creativity is another tool. Okay, if I want to start a business now, I must have either an idea that is new, which very few people have, or an idea that's existing. Example, like Dr. Abdullah said, the restaurants. And not be afraid, launch myself to create something new, the added value you talked about, even in restaurant, not be afraid of competition. Mm-hmm. So we are, maybe your analysis of creation, delivery, and capture is really fantastic. And if you like, we can have a session to tell you what we're doing. We're contractors, basically. But I've started maybe several companies doing various things. We can. That is good. It's like somebody who is fat, and you want to give him a diet. He must be rich first, because diets are so expensive. It's amazing. When I look at some Egyptian brothers and they're fat, I say, these guys are fat, obese. Yeah, because they are poor. They don't have the money to buy a steak or to buy, quinoa or whatever. My daughter kills me with quinoa. So,
hi, Simon. Sorry to interrupt.
Ali.
Hala.
Come in. Sorry.
I want to give an answer to your question, or my view of it, anyways.
Thank you.
Which is, and I agree. Thank you very much for the presentation. I think it's very valuable. But I think in Oman we need to be a bit take it a step or two before that. So some companies that are existing and running, yes, it's relevant what you said. But the issue that we have in Oman is that we don't really have the entrepreneurship culture. We used to have it, but we lost it. And there's many reasons why that happened. And it's not the time or the place to speak about that. But to answer Simon's question, how do we create entrepreneurship and the love for entrepreneurship and the desire, to start your own business? I think let's look at the obstacles, Simon. First, there's a lot of obstacles in when you do a business. Even established businesses such as ourselves, and many of our friends, we find there are a lot of obstacles that we have to overcome. And we've been around for decades. We have resources, and we have people, and we have a network of contacts, and so on, and expertise. But still not an easy place always to do business here. So can you imagine a new business, a new guy, he just come out of college, with his 5, 10,000, 15,000 riyal trying to start a business. He's got no resources. How does he overcome those resources? Sorry, those obstacles. So it's very discouraging. So I think first thing we need to tackle is talk to the government and identify what are the barriers, what are the, doing business in Oman. We've got to make the place an easy place to do business. So we have to fix the environment and remove those obstacles and make it a country that welcomes business and welcomes and allows people to thrive and prosper. So culture change and also systematic change and to fix the environment. The other bit we have is that, somebody like you and I could do, and we should volunteer. And that's what happens in development entrepreneurship environments. Provide mentoring. Mentoring is so important. For example, your kids and myself, for example, and many of our friends, we come from business families and so on. And we kind of grew up with the business sort of a flavor in our mouth. And we think of nothing else. And we never thought of going out and getting a job. So it was natural for us. But there's many people that don't have that opportunity or that sort of circumstance. So they require mentoring. So we need to have mentoring in place. We need to have, people need to get together and provide in an organized way. And then after that is training. And training is the part that was presented today, is that when you do your business plan, you need to do your business plan. And when you do your business plan, these are the things you need to examine and analyze and make sure that you've ticked all the boxes to execute your idea. So you need some training. Well, I don't think there's any coherent or a notable training center here that provides that sort of thing. After that, there's finance. Businesses to start up and so on require finance. So there needs to be different degrees of finance. I think we probably have that more than the other items that I mentioned. Then the fourth point is incentives to start a business. So remove the fear factor, provide some incentives, provide them some safety net. Is it government? Is it businesses, big businesses? I don't know, but it needs to be discussed and debated. But there needs to be an incentive. If we want to create this entrepreneurship culture and ecosystem, we need to have an incentive in place so that the kids or the college graduates or whoever they are who's starting their first business, they're incentivized. There's an incentive there for them. And also at the same time, it doesn't mean that they're going to break their back and they're going to spend the rest of their life paying for that risk that they took. We need to fix that perception. It's also a perception that keeps people away from starting their own businesses. Lastly, and very importantly, we have families in this country, especially in Muscat area and so on, that have made their money through business. They have the capital. They've sent their kids to for good education, and then when the kids come back, instead of giving the capital to their kids to start the business, they, through their contacts, go and find them a cushy little job. So, you know, in a bank or something like that. You can't do that. They have to lead by example, you know, so they cannot be, they need to venture. So we as businessmen who have kids, and if they have the desire to go and start their own business, we should support that, because collectively we're supporting our country, our economy. So there needs to be that responsibility, collective responsibility in the business community and people who have capital to actually contribute in that way. That's it. Thank you. I hope that addresses some part of your question.
You made me become much wiser, Ali. Thank you.
Thank you.
How can I do that?
You did it. You just
thank you for the compliment.
You just did it. And if I had to, sorry, I don't want to, you know, of the 5 things, and I noted them down that you said, if I have to prioritize them, I would say culture. You go to a country like Lebanon, for example, despite all its tragedies, very, very few people would talk about a job, finding a job. Most of them talk about starting a business. And you can hardly find, there's a minority, as you said, for many reasons, in Oman that think about that. Take the latest decision, you know, with a degree, you must give a job. I don't care about the degree. Anyway, thank you. Thank you very much.
That's right. We need to create the culture. Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Ahmed, please go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ariam. And thank you to Jeni for her beautiful lecture. I would like to add some points. My beloved Ustad, my mentor, Mr. Simon, and what Mr. Ali Dawood, also my mentor, as well. I think so we are mixing between entrepreneurship and business cohere experience. My father was a driver, and now he became a businessman with single education, no education, like what Simon says. This is not an entrepreneurship. 70s, Oman, we have hardly found only 3 schools, so no education. I think so without education pillars, no entrepreneurship can come up. Second thing is, let's talk about Oman. We have 5 problems. I also do lecture in entrepreneurship. And my study based in Oman, that we are lack of 5 pillars. The first thing is, we are mixing between SMEs and entrepreneurship, which is wrong. Second thing is, there are no such calibration with the linked sectors like universities, like establishment who relates with, the incubators, recession sections. The link the gap is very big between these. So we need to strengthen that. Third thing is, any entrepreneur come with an idea, it doesn't mean he will be an entrepreneur until he gets a good guidance and possible a small psychometric test that a relevant professional can really sit with this man and look into what is in his mind and what kind of idea does he profile and would like to start with. Possible that is not an entrepreneurial scheme. Here, the advisor can tell, do 1, 2, 3, and let us see. And the fourth one is, unfortunately, I work as an advisor into the industrial area, and we have a center, a business center. We host people and help education, training, giving them offices. But we have another hub where there are creative people, new students. They come and sit every day, explore, slow and grow some ideas. They fail first, second, third, but they recap back again and vanish those mistakes, create their ideas, then goes over here, it starts. Third thing is, unfortunate, now the entrepreneurs are the engineer of the economic. If I tell you a small example, medicine, any medicines, factories, comes from a person. And then that idea goes to this and create that kind of medicine. Entrepreneurs are not easy to find, in Oman especially, unless we really improve these 5 pillars. Fourth, the last point I would like to say, we are still continuing on the old-fashioned functional organization chart. This does not go with the entrepreneurs. Now, in entrepreneurs, the founder really should, if you would like to, as Jeni said, know your customers, come out of the box, go and found, and really pinpoint your real customers and see what they want, what are their requirements, what are their difficulties. With that, you can really work on those points and start. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question is from Dr. Mohammed Al-Rizaiqi. تفضل.
Thanks, Jemi, for the important lecture during especially this time of COVID-19. Thanks to also to Majlis Khonji for the invitation, Dr. Abdullah, and all the participants. I have 2 points in my question. The first one is, there are lots of local programs here and competition of Injaz Oman and Manafa maybe, that are interested in product characterization, as what my colleague said, maybe in innovation to come up with some new products, but their presence in the local market is really lacking. And that's why, because they think about the diamond, like what Porter said, it's a Porter's diamond, where they think about product characterization, the legal framework, process maybe, how to make it, and also about the legality, how legal frameworks work in this product characterization. My second point is most local companies care about customers. And what Jeni said, they lack about the least cost function maybe, and also about marginal utilities of customers. But also it has problem with repetition, because there are lots of externalities, especially with the SMEs. Now we could differentiate with the SMEs and the innovatives. They repeat the similar businesses, but they think more about the least cost or a minimum cost for higher revenues, and could be also for higher profit. It depends, of course, on cost function itself, but also they need to think more about the marginal utilities, about satisfaction of their customers. So I think what really matters here is the startup, as my friends, they said, to start with some initial, let's say, endowments or maybe initial startup for their businesses, and also their sustainability, because also they need to think about, you know, the customer satisfaction within time from starting their businesses. So I think these 2 questions to Jeni is about how she would look on to, prior to the 9 points or 9 cycles, about the programs or competition here in Oman, what is started with product characterizations. And of course, the ministries or institutions, maybe they could provide them with some kind of incentive, support, and could be also with some initial endowment for their businesses. But how the assessment of these programs to have these companies in a real market, that's the first question. And my second question is about what's her advices to SMEs and to entrepreneurs on to matching customer or consumer satisfactions within the value chain to keep their businesses during crisis, uncertainties, as well as during competition in the market structure. Thank you.
So, Mohammed, can you tell me a little more about the competitors? You say you were talking about the Injaz and these other programs that are here and what they're doing with the products and the endowments?
Yeah, what I see from these programs, they are competition program actually, and what they do start, they start with product. So what they do is they come up with the products, but these products, they are prior to the business model. So these products like kind of a Porter's Diamond model where they had characterized their product. Some of these products, they would move on to, you could say, maybe property, or maybe let's say on to intellectual property. And some of these products also, they provide them with some legality, maybe process, how these products are being manufactured in terms of, let's say, processes. And also they provide them with other kind of characterized structure for the market. But these products are prior to your business model. And this is what I think my colleagues, they say about, you know, that's the major issue here. And where they stop prior to the business model. Now the business model comes in and they are with the innovation or maybe with their patent, but they need to move into the business cycle or your business model.
Right.
And what they really face. So I think if this would come up with that one, maybe to make a bigger difference. That's the first thing. The second thing about what you mentioned about the cost function, because it's part of your business model, there is a least cost function where they look for a minimum cost, maybe for higher revenues and maybe with some profit in the least cost function, but they don't think much about the law of marginal utility. And the law of marginal utility, of course, it needs to consider the consumers' satisfaction. Could be in the first part is an excellent, but then when it moves, it will be declining and eventual decline actually. And that's why it matters for the businesses. What I also observed that many companies, especially with the food companies, what they do, it could be also for other companies, what they do, they repeat. And so the repetition of the similar business model, it will create like kind of a negative externality. So it will affect their business return, and also could be also the output, because you know they will produce less and less because they're repeating the similar product. And that's the 2 points. Thank you.
So to your first point, I think there is a gap in the market for what happens after these competitions and hackathons, and what happens not only with the winners of those product competitions, but what happens to the ones that don't make it on stage, because there are also very good viable ideas that may not win that competition or win that first round of award money. So I do think there's a gap in the market there, and that's something that the EI is looking to do. To your second point, and I'm not sure how much more time we have, but I still want to understand more about what you're saying with the lower, the low cost model. You're saying you believe there's a lower cost to the low cost model.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I mean, but also it should be related to the product in the market and their customers.
For sure. It takes a lot of digging and due diligence to figure out your revenue models, for sure.
So can I chime in here with some feedback based on the discussion that has happened recently? There's 2 things that keep on coming up often, and that is, what do we do for Oman before we even get to the 9 steps that Jeni presented? And you know, the concept of competitions is a great thing for ideation. But one thing that we, you know, Ali mentioned and Ahmed mentioned previously, not directly, but in their discussion, is the importance of entrepreneurship education, right? Yes. How do we build this appetite of what is entrepreneurship, what is risk, what is the market, right? So we as Omanis were great entrepreneurs. Something changed. Ali mentioned this. Well, we need to redevelop that entrepreneurship. And part of that entrepreneurship mindset is embracing failure, right? And that's why I like these competitions, because they start to embed the concept that it's okay to fail, to go back and iterate and learn. But we need more of that dialogue. So we're not sending our kids to go study and then coming back and giving them cushy jobs, because to me, that's the fear of failure. We need them to go out there and try and be risky. This is their opportunity right now. So I want to hear more about, is there an appetite in the Omani education system, or even from an entrepreneurial perspective, for entrepreneurship education? Is this something that's missing, or does it exist?
Thank you, Dr. Abdullah. We shall take another question from Mr. Ghanim Al-Abdessalam.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we
Walaikum assalam, Ghanim.
Okay, I just wanted to comment about what Mike was talking about and Ahmed actually even spoke about. So the business canvas model that Jeni spoke about is there's a lot more to it. And what I think, مثلا, if you look at Tanfeed is a strategy that's supposed to take Oman to our 2040 vision. What Tanfeed is missing is 1,000 business canvas model under it. And the two things that could answer Mike's basically confusion, the business canvas model has two things that are very, very, very important, and it's the buyer's persona and the product market fit. So the buyer's persona speaks about who are your customers. The product market fit looks at your services and how it can fit the market. Maybe the services that I have for Tanfeed is not for Oman. Maybe it's for other countries. So you have to first create the buyer's persona and then figure out how to fit your services to the market. Or you have to change the whole business model because it's not for Oman. And that's what the business canvas model actually does. Thank you.
Thank you, Ghanim.
Thank you very much. Another question from Mr. Haji Adam. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
It's nice to hear from all of you about the theories and the procedures and the systems that we have been talking about and going round and round about it. I have two questions. How come the expatriates become successful in Oman while we Omanis are failure? That's my first question. The second question is, can you actually train someone to be a businessman? Thank you.
Hello, Haji. Thank you for the questions.
Who wants to take a lead and answer those questions?
I think I'll take the second question and run with that one, because I want to piggyback on what Simone has said and Ali and Dr. Abdullah is, I mentioned in my bio that I'm an entrepreneur to the core. Simone, I think you and I have some similarities where I think I was born an entrepreneur as well. However, I do think there are some foundational tools and grit that people can learn to be a business person. I do think that's possible. What that means is we do need education, we need an ecosystem, and we need mentors like the three men that spoke earlier. Mentorship, communities like this. I'm involved on Twitter and I get involved in the entrepreneurship discussions here in Oman and just really amplifying what entrepreneurship is, the success and the failures. So I hope that answers your question. I do believe that we can educate and teach people how to be business people.
Thank you, Jeni. Dr. Abdullah, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I agree with Jeni. I don't think being a business person is only for the people that have an innate ability. I think it's part of training. I think that the environment can assist people to be business individuals at a higher rate. So Ali had mentioned earlier that we need to take stock of how easy is it to start the business in Oman. And we need to facilitate that process. It needs to be really, really easy. But even this conversation about the minimum wage changes that just happened, there is a lack of awareness in the market, in society, about the market system, the importance of understanding customers and supply and demand. And I think our education system, I mentioned this in the chat, would benefit from including some entrepreneurship education as part of it. So, I don't think the reason that, to answer the question that Haji Adam mentioned about why does an expat succeed in Oman and Omanis don't, I think the expats that we're seeing it's a selection bias. There's very few that are willing to take risk. So how do we increase the willingness to take risk in Oman and eliminate this social cost of failure? Because we do have a social cost of, hey, you cannot fail. That doesn't look good. Failure is part of the iteration process, and we need to embrace it. So those are my thoughts about why an expat succeeds in Oman and Omani does not, with respect to entrepreneurship.
Can I ask just another one, please? Around us here, I think in our pockets, in Omani's pockets, we have a lot of money. Although we are going through now economical hardship cases in the country here, but if we put our money together here, it's a lot of money. And it shows whenever there's a good company coming in the market, people are running to invest in the stock market. I don't see somebody here taking the leads to put ideas together and lead these people. For example, I might had a friend who just got retired with $500,000, and he is going around and asking, what business should I make? How should I start? So I feel we are missing something there. A lot of Omanis, run to properties, putting money and sands and cements and blocks. That's their favorite. That's the favorite business. How can we change the mentality to take people to different directions, like industries, technology, which makes money? Thank you.
So my take on that is entrepreneurship education, entrepreneurship awareness, and amplifying how diverse entrepreneurship can be, how diverse business owners can be. I've heard comments that there's a lot of restaurant owners here. Just increasing awareness of other ways or other firms to start, other industries to start businesses in.
Thank you, Jeni. I think we have a lot of comments. Mr. Mohammed Istiabi, go ahead. Then we'll take Mr. Ahmed and Mr. Mohammed Habib.
Thank you, Khalil, for the hospitality. Thank you, Jeni, for the presentation. It was very informative, and the discussion also enriched the context of this presentation. I just would like to comment about soft or like intangible things that might needs to be considered in the coming future, especially here in Oman in the entrepreneurship life, especially when it comes to young Omanis joining this entrepreneurship world. We're missing three main elements which can enhance and improve the contribution of Omanis in the private sector, which are persistency, self-discipline, and social norms that respect entrepreneurship and failure of entrepreneurship. So if we have these three elements like well spread across the country, and people are really like saluting those who are failing and coming again to try it from another prospect, those people who has persistency and the belief of self-discipline, because young Omanis, sometimes getting scattered here and there, their interest is not like focused in one area that they can really succeed in. So those elements, besides like the quality of research as well as educational R&D, it's quite important here to invest in the coming years. So I wish that would be like an area of focus if we to see many entrepreneurs in Oman enjoying the benefits of entrepreneurship life.
For sure. One thing that I feel like I've heard several times already is I've heard things about psychometrics. I've heard things about personalities, if you have intuition, and now self-discipline. And entrepreneurship well-being is a concept that is bringing a lot of awareness to this. And because it sounds like you know that being an entrepreneur is tough. It's not always easy. You need a good support system. You need resources, tools, and there is a level of self-discipline that you need, and is definitely something worth looking at.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Mr. Ahmed, please go ahead.
Right. Yeah, as Jenny said, on my previous points I had, that entrepreneurship is not an easy task. Let's really take that as first. Second thing is, as Jenny and my mentor Simon has talked, or Simone, yeah, there are entrepreneurship as well, but they are not real entrepreneurs. They've been taught forever, created, but they have improved themselves and really taking risk in hand and improving themselves. That's what I can feel where Jenny and Simon and others are. But now in 2020, my concern is there are three important elements to really dig for entrepreneurship. First of all, in schools from 6th class to the really 12th class. And we are very, very, very poor in Oman into this. There are not good teachers who can really reflect those kind of ideas where young kids are trying to do, that somebody has to capture, oh, this boy is really very good in that, and he has to really. We are very poor in school. Second thing, our universities. That is the second phase where we can really bring up and reflect on entrepreneurship. Third thing is, this is in schooling. I think so in big companies. I have visited several companies in some part. We are lack of having, as one of my colleagues now, Mr. Mohammed Siab has said, we are lack of creating R&D sections, research and developments. And here, like in, you talk about BMW, there is an R&D section. Over there, nobody can go and talk and really waste their times. These people are just the creators. They are also talked about the company entrepreneurs under research and development. And the most important thing is now, as my brother Haj said, are we the failure? Why we are the failure and the experts are successor? I can see no. I mean, we are possible in the same line. Possible in one thing, we are little bit lazy and they are more active possible. In this possible. But in 2040 vision, if somebody can come and see, in Madain, there is a big hub. You can see how the youngsters are creating many and many of things, which I can say that I'm very proud of. It is a slow process, but we are into that line. In 2025 or 30, if we are alive, we can have this session and we can talk and revise ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mohammed Habib, you got a question, comment as well.
Yeah, okay. I'm just trying to answer the question of Haji, that why Omanis are failure and expatriates are successful. Well, I mean, I don't know where are the statistics you have got, but we have a couple of entrepreneurs sitting here who have been very successful. I'll give you a classic example of Mr. Maqbul Hamid Al Saleh. I call him as an entrepreneur. He started from scratch, and you can count him in the list of the millionaires. Now, there are many such people. So these are entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs, not just somebody come up with a technology company and then gets taken over a big amount. You have fishermen here, tremendous entrepreneurships in fisheries. There are, in farming, there's a tremendous entrepreneurship. So I say entrepreneurship is a success rate is always low. But what we can see in the last 30 years here, I mean, I can see it from the people around me. They've been very successful and they have done lots of things themselves. Now, coming back to your also on the same question, remember we are only 50 years old in education. We didn't have schools 50 years ago. Now, those people or expatriates, they've been having some of the best educations when they're coming, they're successful. They've been to best schools. On top of it, their failure rate is just as bad as Omani's, but they won't tell you, they just leave and go. And failure in entrepreneurship is not a failure. There is a failure once you finally give up. There are many people.
Mr. Habib.
Mohammed, your microphone.
So we shift to Maqbul Hamid.
Okay. What? Did you hear me up to where? Where did you hear me? I'm just saying the entrepreneurship is something that it fails when you just give up. The failure is a learning. From one project to the other, you learn much more. And then is failed one project, it doesn't mean that he has failed. He's going to do another one. And the opportunities now have come up with entrepreneurship here. There's a venture capitalist funds are here, which is now recently have come in. So you will see the success rate of Omanis are very entrepreneurs. I mean, you go to the interior and you see how they're doing themselves. But statistics doesn't prove that we are failures. We are trying very hard and we are successful as far as I can see it. Thank you.
Mohammed, that is a really good point to bring up, that changing that language of calling someone, a person, a failure versus a lesson learned or a failure in an iteration is much different.
Rihan, مداخلة صغيرة, if I may, for the sake of the conversation and at the cost of sounding pedantic, can you define entrepreneurship? What's the definition? Is entrepreneur somebody who starts a business? Is he somebody who owns a business? Is he somebody who inherits a business? So what is entrepreneurship? Because in French, the word comes from French. Entreprendre is daring. Entreprendre is taking a risk. You know, I mean, so what is the classical definition of entrepreneurship? Thank you.
I think it's all of those, Simone, but also I would add that it's how you also capture the value of all those things. It's someone that has, who inherits, someone who starts, someone who acquires, but it's also that last key point of how you're capturing the value as well, or if you are capturing the value.
Thank you.
The other thing is on entrepreneurship is, if I may add, that people who are born sometimes, they get irritated just working for somebody. They think they have not using their energy enough. So they become entrepreneur and they want to show more productivity, which they don't get the opportunity. And the ideas come with that. So it's a dream and he wants to pursue it and he has the energy. So he then jumps to become an entrepreneur. There are people who are just satisfied to be a desk worker and they're happy with the salary and they go pension. But there's some people want a bigger, better life, living like in a palace rather than a 2-bedroom flat. So those are entrepreneurs. They go and take the risk. And if they fail, they stay back to the 2-bedroom flat. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
His Excellency Khamis, sorry, we let you waiting. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. And I have a couple of comments. First of all, thank you for Maqbul Hamid. Long time back, he said that I see the ideas. When I prepare a feasibility study, it's just for you, the people in the ministry, to accept and the banker. But I take initiative based on my thinking, my convincing. So entrepreneur can see these ideas and they don't have to go through all these complications which we are discussing today. Number two, hardworking, and commitment, which Mr. Simon have mentioned, are one of the keys. Because in any business, you might find challenges. If you give up, then it collapses. But if you try to find way, then always there is potential of you finding how to solve that. Third of things, in the culture of Oman and in the culture of Muslim, we have 9 out of 10 of living in business. This according to our Prophet Muhammad said. So everybody you talk to, in his background, he's ready for business. And one of the comment here, they mentioned about the people in eastern part of Oman with the fishing, with the trading. They are very dynamic, and they are really good entrepreneurs in their business. And I know many of them used to drive from here to Istanbul to sell fish, from here to Jeddah to sell fish. So entrepreneurship, it is there in the blood of Omanis, and I think it's not fair to say that the expatriates are successful. We are not. Ireland, a long time back, they say that either export or die. This is 1980s. I took my first training course in Trinity College in 1984, also in the entrepreneurship, and I found it very useful. What I want to say also, the relationship between the business model and the business plan are very tight. Sometimes you start with a business plan and you drive your business model. And sometimes you start with the business model and then you drive your business plan. It cannot be you start with this and finish with this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, His Excellency. We'll move to Mr. Maqbool.
I want to unmute here.
Yes, you are unmuted.
Hello, Simon. I disagree that entrepreneurship is to be taught in schools. Here I am as a soldier at the age of 14 and did a lot of business. So where did I learn my entrepreneurship? In fact, I got the award as being the entrepreneur of the year, and I had any basic education. I think it's gained, and entrepreneur has got the instinct to go after his dreams and make those dreams real. I had my dreams, and that whatever dream I dreamt, I made sure that it is realized. I opened a bank and became the chairman of a commercial bank of Oman with zero money, not $1. But I had the dream that I want to have a bank, which I did, and the bank then was swallowed by another bank. So entrepreneurship is not taught, to be honest. You got to go, in entrepreneurship, nobody goes for a lot of projects, and he goes after those projects and make sure that there are risks, but they should be calculated, just not go there and jump on it. Many Omanis, as Muhammad said, there are a lot of entrepreneurs, but the problem we have got is this duplication and replicating what others have got. I mean, if you go to the Khonji and Mabela, hundreds and hundreds of restaurants, same, shawarmas and things like that. So I just simply want to say that entrepreneurship is not taught. There are businessmen, there are families whose parents were extremely rich, successful businessmen. When they died, their children, did not do anything. They couldn't survive, couldn't sustain their business. Why? They had it ready on a silver, but they failed. Thank you.
Thank you.
So sorry, Jenny, go ahead.
Oh,
please.
Go ahead. I was going to say, going to say that it is a good point, and I think, especially from what I understand in Oman, is entrepreneurship. There are traditions of generations of entrepreneurs here. I heard someone mention the fishermen, and that is very true. In today's times, I believe there's a lot of complexities around entrepreneurship now. There's a lot of vocabulary and jargon and lingo, and especially for those entrepreneurs that might need funding or investing, they need to be on top of what's going on in the market in entrepreneurship. So some things I think can be taught, and I think other things need that mentorship I keep hearing from the guests here. Mentorship, success stories, failure stories, things that, because I'll say again, entrepreneurship can be very lonely, and there are some things, you know, foundational things that can be taught, but also that mentorship as well. Dr. Abdullah, sorry.
No, this is your presentation and time. I appreciate you sharing it with us. Your Excellency Maqbool, I totally agree with you that you and Simone have been, you have the innate ability to succeed. You have that intelligence to see the market, to find the opportunities, and I applaud you for that. But as a country, if we are looking to increase the number of entrepreneurs, we need to give them that awareness that you yourself and Simone naturally have, to allow them the opportunity to start creating new things. Like Jeni mentioned, there's a language barrier when we start about business. You know, balance sheets, understanding, you know, minimum viable products, all this language, if we're allowing people to go out there, not saying that the top won't succeed, but we will have higher failure and reiteration rates. So the question here is, how do we minimize the chances of people not succeeding, not because they don't have the ability, but because they don't speak the language of entrepreneurship? But it requires a part internally, the motivation, the love for risk, the opportunity to get up after you fall. And those are things that you and Simone and the other business individuals have succeeded with. But I think I would like to see more access to entrepreneurship in our society.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abdullah. Jeni, we'll move to Mr. Khalil Al-Balushi.
Thank you, Mr. Khonji, for the invite. Thank you very much, Jeni, for the good presentation that has caused so many discussions about, I know it was only, well, focusing on business, and there are so many businessmen here, but I would like to take a different angle and aspect of entrepreneurship with you. But it's very good to have Mr. Maqbool, and very wisely he said that things not necessarily be taught in a classroom, because the word entrepreneurship is associated with creativity, with innovation, freedom, speaking, and all that. So these are not necessarily all taught. But, well, we have Steve Jobs, for example. Everyone knows he didn't go to classes and all this. The only class, by the way, he went to was calligraphy, which has nothing to do with the tech. But how to do a business modeling, for example, you need maybe to be taught on that. The definition we talked about, the activity of setting up a business, taking financial risk in the hope of profit. But it is also creation or extraction of value, and the value is not necessarily only economical one. So my question to Jeni, have you come across, oh, I'm sure you have come across, but can you shed light on the other aspects of entrepreneurship, the social part of it, for example? Can you shed light on that, please? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Khalil, for your great comments and your questions. Want to comment on some things that I'm hearing about entrepreneurship education. And entrepreneurship education is even a new term in the world of entrepreneurship ecosystem. The program that I went through is fairly novel. There are not many MSc entrepreneurship programs. That's one reason why I went to Trinity. So when we're discussing entrepreneurship education, I love hearing the energy about it and where it's going and what people think are missing and what is here. To your question, I will say many times people have said, Jeni, you're such an entrepreneur, but you also have this social heart. Social entrepreneurship, social enterprise, nonprofits, that's new. And I can tell you there are other business model canvases just for social entrepreneurship. So there are definitely other models to look at other than just profits for sure.
May I give you an example of that? Yes, thank you.
Please.
Majlis al Khonji is a great entrepreneurship example. You see, we are passionate about it. We want it to succeed. We're always thinking how to adapt to change, and that's why we have all of you on the screen now. And the value is immense socially, and there's no profitability. This is, I think, a good example of what we're looking for. Thank you.
It is also important. Why I asked this, because one of the main priorities of 2040 vision is, I can't remember exact wording, but enhancement of citizenship, enhancement of social work, enhancement of sense of belonging of people. Yes, economy is very important, is really the pillar, but all the associated things comes with it. So it is also important to start talking about social entrepreneurship. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have another question from Dr. Talal.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Riham.
Walaikum assalam.
Jeni, for the great presentations and also for all the discussions. I want to just share one experience and examples with the group of Omanis. We are coming from an oil and gas sector, especially in the energy sector. And we had the opportunity to work in West Texas, in Permian Basin. And we spent maybe there 7 years, like around, we are 15 Omanis. We are all graduates from Oman, and even most of them, they didn't have like opportunity to go for private schools. It is the public schools. We just get the opportunity to get scholarships, and then we work in West Texas, in the mid of the unconventional fracking and all this oil booming sectors. And what I can share, I mean, part of the Oman is we established like small companies as an entrepreneurs in the mid of West Texas. And they have had witnessed a quite big success, more than they can dream if they had it here in the mid of Marmul or Nimr or Fahoud in the oil gas sector in Oman. We were discussing and wondering what makes that success in West Texas, where Omanis couldn't, for example, made a breakthrough here. I know that there are other examples that had made and witnessed a very good like breakthrough. And one of the points that we were wondering, it's the deregulation. Do we need a regulation, or how about we just make it a pure free market driven by skills, as we have witnessed it in the West Texas examples? We had the pure deregulations. We managed to have a big success. There was just our skills with the capital, with the private equity who came to us. In fact, we didn't run for them to take the money. So this was one of the observations that we have witnessed. And the second examples, we were their expert, and we had a success, while we are here citizen, and we had also a challenge. That makes me wonder, I mean, the environment, if you attract talents, regardless the race, regardless the ID card, regardless whatever, it will create a knowledge spillover. And that's what we have observed, and that's what we believe it. As we are talking with you here, like I put my Omani hat, I put everything. I talk about a professional industrial experience from energy. I believe it is attracting the talents by itself. It will stimulate the entrepreneurs. It will trigger it more. It's just those are discussion and thoughts. I don't know. I mean, you guys are experts. What do you think about those 2 points? It is like deregulations and the impact on the entrepreneurships. And the second one, it is let's make the environment compete by itself regarding the background of any like identity or any race. That's my opinion.
Go ahead,
Well,
Mohammed Habib.
Yeah. Okay. I think one of the points we are missing here in the country is we don't share the success stories of the entrepreneurs to encourage others. And so those people who've been published, the other who want to be entrepreneur, they can contact them and say, where were they? Where were the hurdles? Where were they? Why? How did you succeed? What was it? Which path did you take? So the important is to government to actually somewhere, somehow publish the success stories. I mean, there are many success stories. There's Islam Air, I think. I remember myself, I was the CEO of the largest company here, probably one of the very highly paid. Then I realized we didn't have any housing bank loans as a whole. And the loans were available only for 7 years. Then I did a study at the back of envelope. I said, this is one of the most profitable business and hardly anybody defaults. So let me resign and set up. And now, if you look at it in the Googles, we are probably one of the five countries in the world who are owner occupiers. Everybody virtually living in his own house. Before 1996, the banks were only giving loans for 7 years. So I came up and said, let's give 25 years, which is less than the rent. Everybody started taking loans and building their own houses. So there are many, Anastella, there are many things people have done it. So let's put the success story. Let those people teach the who have entrepreneur energy to be entrepreneurs, to just give them the path and to give them the so they don't go, they bypass the hurdles. There are many hurdles. So you tell them, okay, don't go this road, go this road, avoid this hole. So that's the way to educate them more. Those are who have the energy, push them forward. But the success stories is important that we pass around. Like they do in anywhere in the world. Oh, I mean, if you see the success story been mentioned about United States and everywhere, here nothing has been mentioned at the moment because there is no sort of infrastructure to show that that's a success story to be sent and directed. So I think one of the things is you should publish the success stories.
I agree with you for sure. Thank you for sharing that information. One thing about success stories is I feel like across the globe, we hear about the Jeff Bezos. We hear about Steve Jobs. We hear about these unicorns.
Yeah.
But what we don't hear from is what we're getting here today, is real success stories, real lessons learned from business owners here. I've heard many times already, I was here, I started a business from nothing, not even a real, dollar, nothing. And we need to hear more of that, the lessons learned, and then also what happened in between from when you had the small business loans, but then also started a business from nothing. And then the young people need to hear the struggles that you went through as well. Everything we're hearing today, that's all part of education as well.
Well,
Rihan,
any more questions?
I have
yes,
a commercial break. Commercial break. Around us, there are many businessmen, and what the presenter can do is to get in touch with us, every one of us, and see if there is opportunity of using their experience and their professionalism to improve our businesses. We have to be fair to her and say this. The last one, I want to leave, before we leave, Your Excellency, I want every one of us, this is in conclusion of what we've listened, to consider why is it that in 1970, we had 99% of our population entrepreneurs, as somebody said, fishermen, etc. And we were at the time of illiteracy. And why after 50 years of literacy, we have 99% of our population looking for a job and not starting their own job. Just in 50 years, look at the shift. It's incredible, but I don't know the answer.
So
why?
Before we ask Dr. Abdullah to close the session, I would like to thank you all. I think we had a very good mix, very successful mix of people here. from Maqbool Hamid, the oldest. And he did not hear me, which is very good because Shawqi is not here.
I hear
yes, please go ahead, Mahmoud.
I hear selectively.
Yes, okay, good.
How do you do that?
Among all that, we have also family companies here who has started long time. His Excellency Mahmoud Abdul Latif is also with us here, but we did not hear him. What, Mr. Mahmoud, do you want to comment on something? If you start the mic, please. Start the mic, Start the mic. Again.
Okay.
Okay.
As you know, my business is quite different. We are a family business inherited from our grandfather. And we are mostly in logistics and shipping services. So I would not consider myself as an entrepreneur in this regard. We had a lot of ups and downs during our life. Since the death of my father and my uncle, we had a lot of problems. Anyhow, we continue, we have survived, and we are doing well, thank God. And that's what I want to say. It is a 125 years old company. It's not small.
Thank you, Abu Osama.
Yeah.
For Al-Khonji, for example, my grandfather Muhammad started the company in 1920. His brother Ahmed helped him, and his son. So he had one son. So naturally, they worked together. Then Abdullah had 6 sons, and all of them, they joined during the 80s. And now the 6 sons, they had 40 sons and daughters. So going back to Ali Kamal, he said that all the sons and daughters, they should work in the same company. It is not possible, I think, and you cannot all the family cannot be in the business, definitely. Otherwise, it will be, again, it's a failure. Sometime, and most of the time, they are saying, the new generation will break the whole thing. So we are struggling to stay together as 3rd generation, and of course now we have the 4th generation already working. We are now 100 years old company between 1920 to 2020. So I hope that, of course, I always bring the family companies together also to support them and to stay, because it's part of our history here in Oman. Thank you all. Back to Dr. Abdullah.
Sorry, Dr. Abdullah, just before we close, we have a question that we have missed from Mr. Haider. Sorry, apologize. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Jeni, and thank you, Mr. Khonji, for this informative lecture. I have my own study I did about the savings. And one of the question was where you want to put your saving money. And 50% of Omanis, they answered me, they want to go into the business. And I asked them, what kind of business? 80% they say real estate. So it shows, and I asked them, why real estate? And they say, because there is a lot of challenges and difficulties to do business in Oman, because the expert trade, they are controlling the market. And I go back 15 years ago when Mr. Jum'a Ali Jum'a, he was the Minister of Labor. There was a lot of Omanis, they brought a lot of Omanis and they kept them with the big businessmen. And these businessmen started to supply them with different kind of food stuff. And they started to work. But after a while, they started to escape. They said, we can't. And the question was, why? And the answer was, these people, when they find we are selling the things in 200 pesos, they are selling in 180. And they started to kill these Omanis, and mostly of them left the business. So this is the study is done. It is with me, and if you want, I can give you. But unfortunately, it's in Arabic. But I can translate for you this part. Thank you very much.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Abdullah.
Dr. Haider, do you mean the exporters were competing with the Omanis?
Yes, it was in this way, and until it's going this way, you
صحيح
find
السند
some. Sorry.
مظبوط بالسند program صح.
Well, this is not a new thing. Even we in logistics, we find problems with dealing with customers because there is one expatriate is offering $50 less on a container, and we lose business.
Yes, yes, why not? Yeah.
Well, thank you all for being here. First of all, I'd like to thank Ms. Jeni Houser for the great presentation and starting off the dialogue. Your Excellency Khalil, thank you for the opportunity to moderate. But most importantly as well, thank you for all the participants today. The value added here, just to bring it back to Jenny's conversation, is the discussion that happens after and bringing it back to the things that connect all of us. One thing that I've learned and one thing that I would like to figure out how to amplify is there's a lot of wealth of knowledge in this community that I think our youth would benefit from learning from, especially with respect to entrepreneurship. In economics, we have a concept called the role model effect, and the role model effect increases the amount of activity when we have a role model to emulate and to learn from. So if Oman is going to transition into an entrepreneurial ecosystem, the value added that we have in this group is going to be crucial in creating that ecosystem. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for the great discussion, and I look forward to next week, inshallah. Ma salama.
Ma salama.
Thank you very much.